Tashuana Alemania Villaflor, designated as the Planning Officer of the Office of Civil Defense Region 7. So basically, my function is to come up with the disaster plan in relation to the 4 thematic areas of the disaster risk reduction and management. And then I also serve as secretariat during the Regional Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council meetings and others. So the Regional Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, first, it is composed of the different government and non-government, including the private sector organizations. Its task is to ensure the population, our public, our people is prepared and can recover, especially during disasters. Our council has 4 thematic areas. We have prevention and mitigation, disaster preparedness, disaster response, disaster rehabilitation and recovery. So that's basically the task of the Regional Dream Council. In terms of survival when it comes to natural disaster, Cebu City is more advantaged in terms of the funding because they have the huge fund to support in terms of disaster response and then disaster preparedness compared to our national government agencies. Almost all of our local government units have hazards in our localities. In Cebu City, we also have those hazards like landslides, flooding, fire, typhoon is also one of the hazards. However, the disadvantage is that their local disaster risk reduction and management plan is not finalized, so they cannot identify or determine what to prioritize in terms of programs, activities, and projects in terms of disaster preparedness. As I said a while ago, the Regional Council is composed of the 4 thematic areas. We have the disaster prevention and mitigation. The Vice Chair is the Department of Science and Technology. Next thematic area is disaster preparedness. Vice Chair is our Department of Interior and Local Government. We also have disaster response. The Vice Chair is the Department of Social Welfare and Development. And then the last thematic area is the Department of Rehabilitation and Recovery thematic area. And then the Vice Chair is the National Economic and Development Authority or NEDA. The chairperson of the Regional Council is the OCD at the regional level. So the function of the thematic area prevention and mitigation is prevention. See to it that the hazard will not become a disaster. Then mitigation, if that hazard will not be prevented to become a disaster, then in terms of mitigation, see to it that the impacts or the effects of the hazard is lessened. In terms of preparedness, the function is to train the public, to make information, communication, and education campaign to the public, and then conduct drills and exercises, earthquake drills, fire drills. So that's basically the function of the disaster preparedness thematic area. When it comes to response, of course, during response, there are actions like relief operations, search and rescue operations. We also have communications at the ground. So there, during the response, it falls under disaster response. And then in terms of rehabilitation and recovery thematic area, that falls under the rehabilitation of the damaged structures, buildings, houses, and then the rehabilitation of our personnel, of the victims of disasters. Like for example, providing them the psychosocial intervention. So that's it. Generally, our plan is to have a disaster resilient community. So disaster risk reduction and management is not just the role of the government. So we need to have a collaborative effort from the community, especially the LGU, to make use of their funds, their DRRM funds. They have to utilize their funds so that the hazards which will later on become a disaster, the effects of it will be lessened, and the people will recover from the effects of disasters sooner. We need the cooperation of the people. A simple activity like throwing of garbage, that also helps in the RM aspect. The Regional Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, again, is composed of the 4 thematic areas. So, first is prevention and mitigation, chaired by Vice Chair is the DOST, and then Department of Interior and Local Government or DILG for the preparedness. For response is the Department of Social Welfare and Development, and then for rehabilitation and recovery is for NEDA. That's for before disaster. But in terms of disaster response, we have clusters. Like for example, the council itself cannot cater all those, OCD cannot cater all those concerns during disaster response. So we have activated clusters. We have 11 clusters at the national and regional level. For example, we have search and rescue cluster, headed by the Armed Forces of the Philippines. We have Education Cluster, headed by the Department of Education. We also have Camp Coordination and Camp Management by the Department of Social Welfare and Development. And then we also have Health, headed by the Department of Health. International Humanitarian Assistance, if there are assistance coming from the other nations, international responders coming here in the Philippines. We have Cluster International Humanitarian Assistance, headed by the DFA. We also have Logistics Cluster, headed by OCD, and then the Management of the Dead and the Missing Cluster by the DILG again. We have the protection of the evacuees. The evacuees is no longer called evacuees. They are now called internally displaced persons. So headed by the DSWD. We also have Food and Non-Food Item Cluster, also by the DSWD. Then Law and Order outside the evacuation area. So it's headed by the PNP. And then the Emergency Telecommunications Cluster, especially in times na the communication is down. So it's headed by the OCD. And then the last is the Camp Coordination and Camp Management by the DSWD. So the Regional Council is composed of at least 40 agencies, government and non-government agency, to include the academe, and then the LGU, and then the civil society organization.